The US government, NSA, have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on supercomputers to spy on virtually all the world communications and to look for keywords, and they've devised algorithms. So this is what we call data mining, and they look for pattern in your emails, like keywords and so on. Now, assuming that this new direction in security is fully implemented, how will it affect us? Without responsible oversight, where will it lead us? When we have grown accustomed to this, how will we react as a society and as individuals? And I assure you that we will grow accustomed to it, just as we have grown accustomed to other things. At first, suspicion, self-doubt, and anxiety will be a burden that we will all feel, but eventually we will adapt. There will be, of course, some accommodations to be made, some adjustments, and what's more, we will be able to do certain things to keep ourselves from looking more suspicious than we really are. I'll just give some few examples. We can stop traveling, or at the very least make sure that we do not travel to suspicious places. Avoid traveling to places of importance or large population centers. Traveling to the US too often might be a bad idea, unless you can really back up your reasons. You might really love San Francisco, but is it really worth the risk of sticking out? Wichita, Kansas might be a better place. We can stop donating to suspicious organizations like CCPA, for example. We can avoid religious practice unless it is reasonably mainstream. We can take careful inventory of your friends and acquaintances. We probably don't really need all of them. Pare them down to a list that is easy to be certain of. We can certainly control our family members and ensure that they are not behaving in such a way as to raise concern. We can be more careful with what we say, avoid certain topics, curb our opinions. What use is free speech if it can draw too much attention to you? Try not to say anything unless if it has already been said by the right people in the right places, preferably on television or in major newspapers. This is in response to your achievements, by the way. If you need to have an opinion, take a good look at what the government has to say about an issue first, as it is likely to be the safest position to take. Do not sign petitions or protest. This will only lead to trouble. Be proactive. You never know what activity or behavior will be suspicious in the future. Being Muslim was fine until September 2001, and your past is a hard thing to take back. You should always make sure that you are prepared to deny not just who you are, but who you have been. Be very careful who signs your renter leases or similar personal references. If there is any question about how your references might be perceived, do not take the chance at all. After all, how well do you really know anyone? You're better off foregoing a good reference. Finally, do not despair if you get called in or taken in to explain yourself. This is important. It is the human factor and can smooth over inconsistencies in your profile. Do not think of your questioners as interrogators. Think of them as your friends who are only trying to help you. This is reality. Many of the things I mentioned here, yes, it's on my mind, and I think it's a reality that the Muslim community, I would say across North America, have been vulnerable So it's the Muslim community today, and I assure you I've spoken to many of them, and they all have this anxiety, and those ideas are on their minds all the time. So today it's the Muslims, tomorrow it's the maybe Chinese community, who knows? It seems clear that the previous American government has lost its way and abandoned its principles and values. It resorted to kidnapping, harsh interrogation techniques that fit within the definition of torture, as well as torture by proxy through rendition flights. It abandoned law and human rights for the sake of expediency. Our own government agencies have not been immune from similar practices. They have cooperated and continue to cooperate closely with countries that have questionable human rights record. Justice O'Connor did not recommend our agency stop the sharing of information with any country, but he clearly established checks and balances that put the protection of rights and freedom ahead of illusion of security. He states in his report, I'll read from his report, information should never be provided to a foreign country where there is a credible risk that it will cause or contribute to the use of torture. Policies should include specific directions aimed at eliminating any possible Canadian complicity in torture, avoiding the risk of other human rights abuses, and ensuring accountability. We really have no idea whether the 23 recommendations that Justice O'Connor published have been implemented. We are told by some government agencies, like especially the RCMP, that they have been implemented. But what is clear, the most important recommendation of Justice O'Connor, which is the oversight part, we have not seen any sign that the government, unfortunately, is about or will implement this specific important recommendation. Now, coming back to the surveillance, total surveillance society issue, let me say that the current trend toward this society, total surveillance society, is a dangerous one. For every bit of promise that it holds, it also contains risks of misuse. At the worst, it is an expensive impossibility, and at the best, it is bound to provide a significant amount of misleading information. And without responsible oversight, this is a huge concern for all of us.